Humanity's favorite pastime has always been, and will likely always be, games. Games come in many forms, requiring both physical and mental exertion. If you don't enjoy a game yourself, you will almost certainly enjoy watching them. Such is the case for every proud Husker. I myself am particularly fond of playing games, be it a sport, video game, board game, or anything in between. When I'm not playing a game, I often find myself watching them, and I have a lot of experience and knowledge about what makes a good game. Today, I'll be talking about one game in particular, the ancient Chinese game of Wei Qi, commonly known by its Japanese name, Go. First, I'll begin by explaining a brief history of Go. Then I'll teach you how to play, and at the end, I'll explain how Go is important today. Now let's begin by traveling back in time, possibly over 2,500 years. Go is a really old board game, popularly believed to have been created between the 10th and 14th centuries BCE. However, it may be as old as 2,500 to 4,000 years. No one is sure who invented it, though there are many popular stories and legends. Some say it was Yao, a somewhat mythical emperor in the 23rd century BCE, hence the belief that it is 4,000 years old. Another story is that Emperor Shun invented it to make his foolish son wiser. Who can say? While not much is known about its origin, its function is fairly well documented. Unlike chess, a game of similar design, Go was not associated with war, but instead divination, attempting to divine the will of the gods or nature to see the future. This may be why, while early Go boards were lined 17 by 17, they transitioned to 19 by 19, giving them 361 points, 360 points for the days in a lunar year, and one polar point at the center. Today, Go is mostly played on a 19 by 19 board. From China, Go spread to Japan and Korea by at least 1000 AD. Japan used the name Go, while Korea uses the name Baduk. By the 1600s, it was one of the 4 accomplishments gentlemen in China should master, along with the lute, calligraphy, and painting. Similarly, in the 1600s, in Japan, warlord Tokugawa created 4 schools of Go, the students of which would compete to be the minister of Go. However, Go at one point lost popularity in China and Japan, but has since been revived and professionalized in China in 1978 and in Japan in the 1920s. Korea is where Go is the most popular, though, with 5 to 10% of the population playing regularly. Go only caught fire in America in the 1900s, when German mathematicians found out about it, but it may have been played as early as the mid-1800s by Chinese Americans. What seems to make Go so popular, like many of the other classic games, is how simplistic it is. Let me elaborate. Go is usually played on a 19 by 19 board, but here I'll be using a 5 by 5 for example. Players are usually given 2 different colored stones, white for the experienced player and black for the less experienced. The black player always goes first. First player, the black one in this case, chooses an intersection where 2 lines intersect. They place their stone on that intersection. The next player places their stone on an empty intersection. Let's say he placed his here. Each player then takes turns placing stones. Pieces that are placed together, either horizontally or vertically, count as one unit. If that unit is surrounded, then all the pieces of the other players that were surrounded are removed from the board and placed in your scoring area. To be used later for scoring. Play continues until the board is filled up. I have an example of that right here. Basically, you play until there's no point on the board where a piece can be played that it wouldn't be captured. As you can see, if white plays here, they're automatically captured by black. If black plays here, they're automatically captured by white. The same is for each empty intersection. And so, you commence scoring. White has captured 3 black stones and happens to have territory for 1 intersection. Therefore, their score is 1 intersection plus 3 black stones, 4. Black has captured 2 white stones, but they happen to have 4 separate intersections where their pieces have control. This gives them 4 plus 2, 6 points. Simple. Playing on a regular board is a lot of fun, but most games that are played today are played on computers. Now, since computers were first invented, people have been making games on them. This has involved an entire industry of video games. Many of you in your boredom may have at one time played chess or checkers on a computer. Oftentimes, these games are played against an AI. For a long time, chess was considered a game that no AI would be able to beat humans at. But that changed in the 1970s when AI could consistently beat strong amateur players. When in 1997, an AI beat a grandmaster, people decided that Go was the game that no AI could win against a human. Well, times are changing, and in 2016, Facebook had a program, AlphaGo, that defeated the then European champion 5 games to 0. AlphaGo was a little bit different than most of the AI used for chess. Go is just too complicated to calculate every move possible. Instead, AlphaGo learned from millions of expert moves used by humans and then played against itself millions of times, learning each time it played. This kind of AI is likely to be used in the future for things like robotics. What does this mean for Go, though? Will it fade into the shadows, no longer played since robots can beat us at it? Definitely not. Like chess, Go will remain a classic board game, played for generations to come. Now that you know how to play, get out and play. You can play free online at many different servers, or use a checkerboard at home with a friend. Practice, and maybe someday you'll be invited to take on AlphaGo.